Even though it's been 38 years, I haven't been as active as, many other actors. But it has been a beautiful journey. I mean, I was able to do the kind of films I wanted to do very early on in my career, unknowingly that too. And then taking the sabbatical for so long and then being able to come back, with a very prominent launch. I wouldn't say a launch, but a prominent comeback. And I think it has been beautiful. I've been able to manage so far. I run parallel lives. Home and work is like, it's a woman's challenge always. So far, I've been able to manage it pretty all right. So I don't have any resentment of any kind, actually. I think from my first film itself, it has purely been a blessing, because this is not a path I'd ever dreamt of or even thought of. It is purely a blessing. Yeah, with Rajni sir, I think the film that I did was the last film I did before I got married, which was in 1988. And there were other films that were approached after that, and I had decided that I want to get married and I want to settle down. So it was very sweet, because that was like the grand finale before I took took a break. Actually, sir was damn sweet. So were the producers, and they gave me like sort of a farewell party after the end of the film, and the film did extremely well. The way I came into cinema, like unknowingly, unexpectedly, accidentally, use whatever adjective that you might want to, it's the same way with the comeback as well. It was like, when the offer came in, and, when they suggested this kind of role, and I was very, very apprehensive, because, I lived abroad, logically traveling here, coming, doing a film, going back, just didn't seem like it's really going to work out. It was my family support and my husband mainly, because he always thought that I left my work very early on in my career. And he realized much later, the kind of the fan following or the well-wishers I had, throughout. And he thought that, the audiences still want to see you. They're still keen to see you. People are still keen to cast you. I think you should definitely do it. And actually, he got me thinking, and then that's how. And then the only, the only clause that was there in me doing M. Kumaran, Son of Mahalakshmi, was that you have to work around my children's holidays. That's the only time that, I can have my parents with them, and then, I can probably just focus on my work. For me, when I did M. Kumaran, is when I realized what kind of love and adulation I had. Because, whenever I did cinema, I would work and come back to Mumbai, where home is. So I never lived in that kind of a surrounding where I was constantly, noticed or, either, looked at all the time. And so, I had a very, very, I think I always managed to run this parallel life, thanks to, because, being based out of Mumbai, so I could, lead a normal life. Wonder Women came about being when I was actually shooting for a Telugu film, and I got a missed call from Anjali Menon, and so I messaged her back, and we really didn't have great network, and I messaged her back saying, I'm at shoot. By the end of the day, I'll call you back once I'm back in my room. And so I called her back, and she said, I had this very interesting script, and I really think you would like it, and I want you to listen to it and see what you think. And so, of course, getting an Anjali Menon script by itself was very exciting. And then when she thought that there was a character that I would fit really well, made it double interesting. So Anjali Menon was definitely one of my directors I wanted to work with. So that was definitely there. And so then, when she's in Bombay, she came over, she met me, she narrated the script, and I said, done, I'm doing it. Now, the beauty about this character is, when you're constantly doing films where you are either somebody's wife or mother, and I think she also mentioned this in some interview of hers, it's very difficult, even though within the characters that I've played, I've tried to make a niche for myself. And, so there are certain kind of roles that come to me. But after a while, when you're doing it, you feel, what, you want to do something different, something different. I'm looking to do something different. And so this is about a woman. She's all of her own. She doesn't really have anybody in her family as of at that moment. And she runs a prenatal center. She brings all these women in so she's basically the catalyst for the other narratives in the story. So she's kind of helping bond all these characters. And I thought that was so much like age appropriate. It was very inspiring, empowering other women who are there. And, this is pregnant women, a journey that I have been through. So many things are relatable. I have been for, prenatal class where we do breathing exercises. I'd done it with my first one. So there were so many things which are relatable. And so that is what it is. And that is how I jumped into Wonder Woman. The kind of school I have come from is, where the dialogues are given, you memorize them, and then you present them. That is what it was. With Anjali, she does have a dialogue. She does have a script that she kind of follows. But she gives you the liberty, which I thought was not really a liberty for me. And she would say, okay, this is what the gist of the thing is. And you can just say it the way you want. So I said, Anjali, that doesn't work. Believe me, I was even struggling with English at that point. I'm like, am I getting the point across? Am I getting the point across? And she said, don't worry, I'm there. If it's not working out, I'm there to tell you that it's not working out. But, it took me a couple of days to kind of, think on those lines. I think that was the most challenging bit for me because, I'm not a trained actor. I'm coming purely from the experiences and from what I have learned through the cinemas that I have done. So this was completely new, and it was indeed a bit challenging for me, but it was a very different process of thinking, and I think that does help you in having kind of a little different body language. So in a way, this woman is strong. She's very sure of who she is. She knows how she has to conduct these women, but yet there has to be a softness to her. Because she's trying to convince these women. She's trying to inspire these women in many ways and yet be a friend of theirs. So there was a combination. So I'm not saying it was, something that I had to really do a lot of homework on the character that I'm playing. Nothing of that sort. But there were a lot of things which were between the lines, which I had to kind of focus on. I am a director's actor. I think. And what happens over time, I've been playing such strong characters, and over time, somehow your body language changes playing those characters. So there was a lot of undoing which came in this as well. So I think that was interesting. It is definitely changing. And I think OTT has helped a lot with that also, because it has given women more opportunities to play different kind of characters. And if you look on an average, what's happened in the last few years is because of OTT, I think there have been very different scripts written. You have a different audience, and people are open to different kind of subjects. People are ready to accept different scripts, different narrations. And the world has changed, hasn't it changed? I mean, I'm not the way that my mom was when she was my age, So we all have kind of moved on. We've accepted the world in a different way. So I think the stereotypical will change. It's taking a little bit of time, but it will definitely make a difference. I had seen actually the change happening first in probably in Hindi cinema. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's what my observation is, where they had a lot of women playing the lead roles or whatever. And I think slowly it started happening. But having said that, in the 80s when we did films, we played a
Yeah.
lot of women. I don't want to call the word women centric, but women
Yeah.
playing the lead part in the film. And
Yeah.
so that kind of dipped somewhere in the 90s and we lost it. But I think it's coming back. And now we have, as I said, the streaming platforms, and
Yeah.
there are just different kinds of stuff written for women. And literally, it's the women who are the heroes today in most of these OTT platforms. It's what convinces me. If I listen and if I look at it and I say, okay, are people going to come and see Nadiya for this? Is it convincing? Am I really being an integral part in the film? Am I bringing in any change? Am I bringing in some difference to the script? So these are the kind of criteria I look into within
Yeah.
the capacity. It's very funny because we come from a cultural upbringing where the mothers are kept at such a big pedestal in our lives. We look up to them for many things. But when it comes to cinema, I mean, it's almost like, oh, but you're playing a mother role. And I'm like, but isn't she kind of holding a family together at the end of the day? I mean, she's still a very pivotal part in everyone's lives.
Yeah.
um, I wish they didn't give them that kind of connotation and kind of just make the mother a bit more exciting. Yeah, thanks to Raja and team. I always say the huge benefit with that film was that I could connect with the younger generation.
Mm.
If I would have played a very stereotypical mother, I don't think I would have been able to connect with the youngsters. And
Yeah.
thanks to M. Kumaran, most of like the teenagers and the youngsters wanted to have a mother like me. It's a struggle across the board. I don't think it is just here.
Yeah.
What
I
we are
agree.
seeing, yeah, it is even in the Western world. Still, there are women who are struggling to get roles written for them. We have a
Okay.
few, but still it's limited. I mean, you don't see as much. I mean, they started off writing, with women in lead characters, far more earlier than we started. Women of a certain age, as I'm saying, and but it's changing. It's definitely changing. So I
Okay.
think it is about your conviction, the kind of role you want to do. And I think, as I said, and I still say it, I've just been blessed to get that
Mm.
kind of characters, blessed to have so many well-wishers and, my fans who have always stood by me and who have always welcomed me. And so, that by itself is a huge responsibility. You don't want to let them down, but you try your best within your capacity. Not as many, but there are a couple which are coming, and I think they might happen early next year.
Okay.
I have another one which is supposed to be released, which is going to be another OTT release,
Mhm.
which is with Fahad Fazil. Fahad is a brilliant actor, and I've seen so many of his films of late in the last few years, admired
Yeah.
his work. But for me,
Yeah.
it goes far deeper than that.
Oh,
Far deeper. He's director Fazil's son. Who director Fazil is one who launched me in my first film. And for me, they call me Zari auntie. They don't even call me, ma'am or anything. Zarina is the name I'm born with. So they keep calling
yeah.
me Zari auntie, him and Nazria. And for me, it was like this little boy who used to be running around, at home when we were doing this film, and who's grown
Yeah.
up to be a wonderful actor, and and who's become really a master of his craft. And it's nice to see that growth. And so, so we gel on many levels. The film itself is, again, it's slightly dark, as in it's the dark side of humans. what the emotions they fight and going through like a low phase, and how do they deal with it, and so things like that. Sri Priya is where we did Drishyam, the Malayalam Drishyam one, which was remade in Telugu. So I played, the cop in the film. And then Madhumita, I worked with, I've actually done four women directors. And there was one Telugu film as well. And the director Saujanya. Varadu Kavalin was the name of the film. And then I did with Madhumita, that was, recent, which we did for Amazon. And that was one of, an interesting project as well, because again, that was something very different and exciting, because it was a silent film. It was a part of Puttu Pudum Kale Vidiyada, and it's an anthology, and it was me and Jojo George, where, a husband and wife have some sort of a disagreement, and they decide they're not going to talk to each other. And the woman does take care of him. He does love her. She does love him, but they've decided they're not going to talk to each other. The ego comes the way of the relationship. And so that was another beautiful subject that I worked on. And then now I have Anjali Menon's. And Anjali Menon's film, the other great thing is we have so many other women, so there is no one protagonist in Anjali Menon's Wonder Women. All the other women, the 6 women that are playing, they're all the protagonists of the film. So that is the beauty. And giving each one their own space was, I think, which she handled really beautifully. It is like, going back to being in an all-girls school kind of a situation. So, I went to an all-girls school, and then, the silliness, the craziness, is like, everything is like, okay, accepted. So it's that kind of a feeling. So you're there, you like slap them, or, you like restrict, literally things, very simple things, but like resting your hand over their shoulder and chatting with them, or, things that, which would just come like very naturally, and you don't have to like, think 10 times. It's just a comfort. So this film is like, even though it's dealing with pregnant women, we are still dealing with a lot of, hope, a power, a journey a woman goes through when she's pregnant. And it's not about just her being pregnant. It's about her making friends during her pregnancy, the families, how different these families are, and the kind of issues that they're dealing with, which they're able to come here and express it to their friends who are in the same class, and each being non-judgmental about the other, and being able to open their heart out. So there's a lot of, empowerment of, as in bringing a life into this world, and the hurdles and the achievements and the friendship, the camaraderie, the hope, there's a lot of things, there are a lot of layers that bring out from this film. But yet it's a very sweet film. There will be moments which will bring you, will get you a little teary-eyed, but in a good way. It touches you, at some points. And so it's a feel-good, it's a family film. Yes, it's based a lot on pregnancy, but I'm sure it'll touch a chord with many people. I actually sometimes feel bad for the generation as well, because they live in a very complicated world, and I partly blame technology for it as well. I think what people miss out on is living in the moment today, and giving time for each other, which I think is the key. There's love, there's respect, all that comes, but I think it's giving time, when someone is in need, whether when your partner, your spouse, your children, being able to give them that time is of essence. Time is of essence.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.